Good morning, ASEAN. Welcome to the ASEAN Breakfast Talk of the 14th March. Today is a beautiful Friday, and we have a full house studio with us today. We have Miss Firdaus from MyConstitution.
Good morning.
And then we have Mr. Law Wei-Jing, who is an economist.
Good morning.
And you have me, Will, comes again on air.
Will. Okay, so we'll start the day with one of the news pieces from Bali. From Antara News, we have tourists being advised not to visit Bali during the day of seclusion. Yeah. So in Bali, there's this tradition of a day of silence that is celebrated every, according to, moon phases calendar. So this time it happens on the March 31st. So it is a Hindu celebration, mainly celebrated in Bali, Nyepi. It's a public holiday. So what happens during Nyepi is that, from 6 a.m. until the next day, 6 a.m., you are supposed to reserve the day for self-reflection, and you're restricted from lighting fires. Light should be kept low. You shouldn't be working. There shouldn't be entertainment or pleasure. There shouldn't be traveling or no talking or for some, no eating at all, So, the reason why, this is done this way is so that people have time for meditation, they have time for self-reflection. So what you find on the day of Nyepi is that Bali, who's usually very busy, the roads are empty with little or no noise at all or few signs of activity, even at home. So the only people that you will see are probably pecalang, who are traditional security men who patrol the streets to ensure that you follow this prohibition. So even for tourists, you're not allowed to go to the beach, but of course you're allowed to do whatever you wish inside your hotels. Yeah. So I personally think that this Nyepi
does it mean they are not doing any business?
Yeah. Well, it's just
if that's the case, where the tourists should go for their lunch, dinner, if they want to have some meal?
Well,
they'll be facing any problem, right?
Yeah.
Otherwise, they need to go to fishing somewhere.
They can stay in their hotel. Yeah.
Oh, hotel room. Okay. But I think this is quite good to me personally, because I think we have talked too much sometimes.
Yeah.
We need a day of rest. Okay,
yeah,
just keep
day of silence.
Yeah, without talking anything, without doing anything, just to do a self meditation, right?
So I personally think it's a very interesting and beautiful concept, and it sounds familiar as well, because I believe in a lot of faith tradition. There are times where days of the year are dedicated especially for self-reflection. So for example, I know that in Shabbat, in Judaism, they even do this weekly from sundown on Friday until the appearance of 3 stars in the sky on a Saturday night. So, yeah, Ms. Firdaus was sharing a little about, this is also similar to Ramadan.
I basically echo what you've just said. I think in every faith or religion, there is this element of self-reflection. Say Islam, for example, we've got the month of Ramadan, which is a month of self-reflections, and a month of where you are discouraged or rather encouraged to do good things to one another, and also to increase your prayers to God. It's a moment of it's a month of self-reflection, and you will see this similar elements also in this celebration of Nyepi.
But does it really help to someone that having that improvement? I mean, after the what do you call that? And you call it self-enrichment or self-reflection, right?
Yes.
So does it really help to someone after they've gone through that?
Yes, they do. Well, or even on personal basis. So, because throughout that month, the environment is such that, and I think you can also see it in this Nyepi celebration. The environment, or rather the people around you, is such that everyone is is geared, or rather everyone is so motivated to do good things, that just looking at them also, you are also encouraged to do good things. And not only that, in a multicultural society like Malaysia, you've got the non-Muslim who also respect the month, and you've got your non-Muslim friends who also fast just like you. So you are encouraged then.
I do agree that, but what you're referring is that during that month itself, or during that celebration itself, but right after that, what do they feel? Do they get any lessons, or what they learn throughout this process, the whole process?
Okay, it depends on. I would rather say that this would depend on individual, case by case individual, in the sense that if you yourself take the step to properly observe the month and to properly embrace the significance of the month, then you will come out a better person by the end of that month. Basically in Ramadan, during the month of Ramadan, for example, in office, you are usually allowed to leave early. So there is this leeways to allows you to to do more, or to allows you to do a proper self-reflection. But whether or not you actually utilize it to then do a proper self-reflection and then be a better person.
Taking it for granted sometimes.
Yes. I mean, it's humans after all. Yeah.
I think from the Buddhist tradition, you probably do that a little more intensive in that not just once a year, or a month in a year. You're supposed to have you're supposed to be on a mindfulness mode all the time.
So there's no specific day or
I
no specific event even? No.
Okay, so if I'm not mistaken, there are this period called Vasa, where it used to be the rain period in India.
Right.
So the monks would stay in, and during that time it will be like maybe like 2 or 3 months of reflection. But they would have to practice meditation for a lot of hours a day anyway, and you're supposed to be constantly watching your thoughts, your emotions, your speech, your actions, every step, even every step is a walking meditation.
Wow.
So that's
I think it's quite hard to a politician to do so.
Yeah.
They can't keep quiet. Okay, they just have a lot of bullshit to talk sometimes.
It's like almost all the time.
Almost all the time.
Yeah.
They have no peaceful in their mind or in their heart.
So next up is a news story about a politician. In fact, the first president of Indonesia, Sukarno. So from the news from Jakarta Globe today, Sukarno's daughter wants to remake a film about her father, because she claims that the popular movie about her father that's produced by Multivision Plus Pictures has strayed too far from the original screenplay that's approved by her, and she thinks this has damaged Sukarno's reputation. Of course, she's also supported by ambassadors of Cuba and Venezuela, who have protested to her, saying that the Sukarno that they saw in the film is nothing like the real Sukarno that they know. So, but however, her sister takes a different stand, by siding with the film producers and the company. We know that probably Sukarno might be a controversial figure. Yeah. So
it sounds like what's happened in Thailand. It just sounds like what's happened in Thailand. They took over the government and then just tried to pull down Inlak, right, at that time.
So my question really is that, how do we really know, if history that we are presented with is accurate or not? Yeah,
someone having a contribution or someone really making big things, right? It reminds me something quite similar in Malaysia, Tanda Putra. Have you guys watched that?
Yes. No, I haven't. But
I've heard
enough to actually feel as though I've watched it.
So what have you heard? What have you heard about that? Is it a good comment or something negative?
Well, most of it are negative, Most of it negative. But I do hear positive reviews among those many negative reviews. But it's mostly about the the way the stories are presented. I guess what they were trying to convey, or the message is, it's not a bad thing. I mean, it's obviously a good thing, but the way it's presented and how it actually translates into the real society
how it
in Malaysia.
portrays the real things, right?
Yes, I think that's the subject of discussion.
But okay, among those negative reviews that you heard, is it from Chinese or from Malay? Because this is making
really
something
make
a
that.
difference, you know.
Both though. I'm serious. Yeah, I'm serious. Both. And but even the Malays are, the Malay friends who commented on the movies are saying about almost similar things as what the Chinese are seeing. Yeah.
What did they say?
Well, I mean the relations that was portrayed wasn't exactly what we see or what it was back then, or it wasn't exactly correctly portrayed, and rather because of that it feels unrealistic.
Okay. Because some people say that, okay, it's not a real story, it's not a real history, but some people do agree that some part of it is the real history, you know. But mostly those supporting the opposition party, they felt like this is offending. A lot of part is offending the opposition party. So that's why they look at it as a negative review.
Have you watched the movie?
Yeah, I watched it purposely. To me, I think it just common. I just take it as a normal
entertainment.
Yeah, entertainment. I don't look it as a history talking movie.
But it's very dangerous though, because I think that if you show this kind of movies in universities, well, I actually heard that it's mandatory screening in some of the universities.
Yes.
Yeah, they actually made the students watch it. It is as if that you're endorsing this version of history. And for some context for our listeners who don't know about Tanda Putra, it's basically a Malaysian film, supposedly a mix of history and fiction of what happened back then.
Let's talk about May 13.
Yeah, well, what we know as a very bloody history of Malaysia. Although there are people who are saying that it might not be all it is made up to be. But what this film highlighted was really the racial, how do I put it? The racial issues of, I would have to say that some of my friends commented that how it portrayed Chinese to be in a very negative light.
Yes.
And as for Malay to be heroes of then. And so if you are interested, you could watch the show.
I don't think they have a way to watch it.
Yeah. Well, I heard.
There's a way nowadays that you can just download it.
Yeah,
from,
true.
Yeah.
Everything is from
what
internet.
I read from the IMDb, which is a movie rating site, like they rate Godfather like the best ever movies in Hollywood, but then they gave Tanda Putra like 3.5 out of 10.
Yeah.
Yeah, but this is still based on the rating is not professional. It's based on the voting. You can just go up and vote for it and give it like
3.5. Is it considered really bad? Because out of
just
10.
imagine if you
Fail.
It's still
if you're looking at
possible.
Transformers.
Possible.
If you are looking at Transformers, you get like maybe 6, and Toy
See?
Story.
Transformers
That's
it's only
not
got
too
6.
bad.
Yeah.
See? That's why
And you
3.5
get
is not sounds too bad.
Toy Story like 8.
Oh.
Star Wars like
Okay.
8. Like The Hobbit, you get like 8.
Okay.
8 point something.
I start to doubt about this ranking.
Yeah, but this is the best ranking you can get in IMDb. It's the most prestigious.
Okay.
Yeah, in movies.
I see. I think history's being what it is, like, it's actually a very rich or rather complex narrative of what actually took place. So it's never black and white. So to portray in movies in black and white, that's the complexity, and that's what you get. Tanda Putra. I mean, that's just one example. I'm sure there's so many other movies, whether or not it's Hollywood movies.
But if we just put a disclaimer that this is based on, we don't say it's based on real history. We just say this is
Fiction.
Fictions.
Yeah.
Would it be okay?
Yes, I think.
It should be okay, right?
Yeah.
If this is a fiction.
Well, let's
Although-
make it this way. Why can't we just look at it as a fusion? Both.
Well, personally, being more mindful of the effect of even just entertainment.
Yeah.
I
look at it just as entertainment.
Of course we knew that there was a lot of studies that was conducted on games that are based on violence and whatnot, and it said that it has affected the youth of these days. So I'm quite wary of even if you label it as entertainment, No, it should be done in
Well, I think
a good
youth nowadays, they are
light.
quite smart. They can differentiate which one is true, which one is wrong, right?
Not necessarily. I mean, what I mean is,
Like you are one of the smart group, right? You're still young.
But I think what she's trying to say is
because
that
not everyone has how to say, has access to quality education.
So you have a
that's
quality
another.
I
education.
see. And kids also, they can be pretty impressionable.
Yes.
Yeah.
If you're young and then you get,
So
you
that's another. Well, I think this whole discussion on movies is actually, very, very interesting. Like, to me, the way I see it, movies are obviously very effective tool. Whether or not it's because of,
To brainwash. You try
as
to say the word.
education. I'm saying
Okay.
education and not
All right.
brainwash. Education
Okay.
or entertainment. It's obviously a very effective tool, which is why a lot of organizations, for example, they use videos, they use, all these public service advertisement because it actually has effective impact on its, audience. Yeah.
and we know that how the advertising agencies has been using videos and whatnot. So I wouldn't say that it ends at just entertainment.
Yes, I would agree with you.
Okay.
So next up, we have a news from Myanmar. Myanmar Times reporting that the Time reporter was refused over safety concerns. This is in a context of the Time reporter who made Ashin Wiratu on the cover of the Times magazine. So she actually branded one of the nationalist monk with the headline, "The Face of Buddhist Terror." And because of that, when she was applying to attend one of this international conference in Myanmar, she was refused, and she was actually the only person that was refused out of the conference because people think that she has got a lot of hate on her, and then it might be unsafe for her and for the community there with her presence.
Wow.
So this begs the question of how media freedom is actually happening in Myanmar.
But if I remember correctly, they have this ranking as well released about a month ago, saying that Myanmar has more freedom on this press freedom. Their ranking is better than Malaysia.
Well, I think this is not only just an issue of media freedom. Maybe I'll just provide a little more context because who Ashin Wiratu is that he's a Buddhist monk who is also a nationalist, who's inspired by the English Defence League, a far-right Islamophobic street protest movement in the UK, which opposes what it considers to be a spread of Islamism, Sharia law, and Islamic extremism. So it is said that from one of the perspectives, not necessarily true, but there is a common thread that runs through the history of Buddhist countries that they have at one time been a victim of other aggressive Abrahamic faith. And because of this, I believe there is a certain fear that runs through them that if you do not protect the religion, it will become taken over by other religion, and especially in light of the Rohingya crisis that's happening in Myanmar, I think this made the Buddhist and Muslim relations quite bad over there.
I think it's all because of the human behavior. It's not because of the religion. We cannot blame it to the religions because it's only the human, how they interpret it. Okay, I look at it this way. Okay, when Wei Jing talk about the media freedom, right?
Yes.
I think it's referring why the Myanmar can be ranked so high. It's referring to the government, how they control the media. It's not about the society or maybe the community, how they control it. But look into this case. This has happened in the community. It's not in the level of the government.
That's confused me. Vienna, if I understand you correctly, you were saying that the
Buddhists.
They did not give the visa to a Buddhist?
No.
So this Time magazine reporter named Hannah
Beach, yes. Yeah, as in BEEC.
Yes.
Yeah, okay.
It's not that beach, right?
So
It's not the beach that you imagine that beach, okay?
yeah, so she was trying to apply for a visa to attend a East-West Centers international media conference. But out of the 300 plus foreign journalists who applied, she was the only one who was refused to,
Yes.
to have
So she's a
the
journalist.
visa.
She's a reporter.
Yeah.
Because her life might be threatened if she went there.
Well, yeah, but then again, with some perspective from my NGO friends in Myanmar about what they think about this Buddhist nationalist monk, is that they say that they are not a fan of him at all, and he's not really just a peaceful preacher that he claims to be. Rather, he practices a lot of how do I put it, like us versus them, which we believe to be not an integral teaching in Buddhism, where you shouldn't have you should practice the concept of non-self, like, you know, not so much on solidifying the form, like us versus them, and also on compassion. Rather, this monk is sometimes preaching hatred against the Muslims in Myanmar.
But it shouldn't be.
Yeah, so I think mixing religion and nationalism is a very dangerous mix, because you know, this actually sounds a little like Malaysia as well.
Sounds a little like home, isn't it?
Yeah. So
But anyway, several Myanmar journalists said that they agreed with the government decisions to reject Miss Beach visa request. So I guess,
So it's something to do with the government as well.
yeah. But I mean, there have quite a numbers of journalists that they agreed on this to reject the visa application. So
It sounds like there are differing views, I guess, when it comes to politics. When things are politicized, you will get views from both sides.
Propaganda.
Yeah.
because I think what one of the reasons maybe why the government rejected it is because, you know, the view of, oh, you're shaming the nation, you know. Yeah, so maybe that's why, not so much of her report.
But on the other hand, the Myanmar Journalists Union wasn't so agreed on these issues. They said, well, the government should have caused an instability, the damage to press freedom from denying her a visa. So that's what the Myanmar Journalists Union said.
So I have another point of view about this case. I'm not looking in the media freedom way, but I'm looking at it in a terrorist way. Okay,
Wow.
I mean, like,
Now we are escalating these issues. to
no,
terrorists.
I'm not trying to escalate it, but
We're security experts.
but you see, in the West, especially United States, I would say that they tried to put in Muslim or the Islam, the Muslim word is terrorist word, right? Not say terrorist word, but lots of terrorists, they are Muslim. But here, when you look at in this context, they are not Muslim, they are Buddhist. So is it a matter terrorists? You can just make it it's a Muslim or what? No, I don't think it's nothing. I think it's nothing to do with the religion. It's about the human. Right? How you think about it? Just now, Vienna just talked about this. Okay, you say it's about me and you, or some kind of that. It's more selfish. I'll use the word selfish. So the greedy kind of the feeling, they want to grab something, they want to maybe conquer something. So that's why this is the feeling or the thought that making them a terror.
Yeah, maybe this is about human desire, or fear or lack of understanding, much more than it is.
I do agree. So we shouldn't put a religion as an excuse for us to conquer or want to get something. But lots of people are using that things.
Yeah, we know that politicians use that all the time.
But this is not a politician.
Yeah.
No, but the way I see it, and even if some people might see this piece of news as maybe some hidden agenda by the West. Even if they see it as that, and even if there is some truth, is that for us to actually disallow her to come in, only validate that argument even further, isn't it?
I agree. Exactly. That's
being know
issue.
the context that Miss Beach, she's a journalist from the Times magazine. Yet, the Myanmar Times magazine's publications and distributors, they said they backed the government move for banning Miss Beach from coming to Myanmar.
Interesting.
Yeah, even that they are the sole distributor and publications of Times in Myanmar, and they said just to remember that our country, which is Myanmar, is not a European-style democracy yet.
So maybe they say tell something.
ASEAN way again.
ASEAN way.
Yeah, ASEAN way.
They just want to block the Western country to come
Well,
in,
just
right?
to
Who
let-
owns the Times? It's all the US company, right?
Also, just to let I'm a fellow Malaysians to know that as a Malaysians, if you are trying to travel to Myanmar, it's either for leisure or business, a visa is required. And the embassy, the office.
You mean throughout the ASEAN country, any?
No, I mean just as a Malaysian, because
Malaysian?
I was in Yangon last week. So happened that I was in Yangon, the capital of Myanmar, last week.
Oh.
And I tried to apply for the visa through the embassy, but the embassy in Malaysia, in Kuala Lumpur, said that they no longer give out visa from the embassy. They already outsources this part to another office. And the office is at Masjid Jami LRT. You just get down at Masjid Jami LRT, and you go, and there's a coffee box restaurant right next to the LRT stations. Second floor or the third floor of the building.
Is it only to Myanmar or the other ASEAN country as well?
I'm not sure about others country because I'm holding a Malaysian passport.
But I thought it should be okay. We can travel around within the ASEAN country without any
that's
visa.
not true. I
Not
know-
yet, yeah.
Not yet.
Not yet. So we'll be.
They were working through this framework under the ASEAN's
2017,
yeah,
right?
yeah,
The
but not yet.
integration.
15.
15.
And it's
2015,
like
next year.
If I'm not mistaken, it's like $35 to get a visa, and you can get it on the same day.
Oh,
Yeah,
okay.
just an additional informations. Yeah.
Yeah. So and now let's it's also a pretty related piece
Okay.
from Myanmar Times, talking about how a poll that they conducted finds Burmese public to be linking citizenship to Buddhism. So yes, so in the poll that they conducted, okay, let's just give a little context first. 89% of the population are Buddhists in Myanmar. Okay, so in the poll that they conducted, they surveyed mostly middle-class Burmese and suggested that many of the country's citizens seems to think that in order to be a Myanmar, you have to be a Buddhist. Yeah. So, but okay, what is surprising is this is a survey of just over 2,000 Burmese, yeah? But they also polled the ethnic minority, the Rohingya group. Even the Rohingya group suggested that they think that being Burmese is being Buddhist and being patriotic. Yeah, that's what they...
If put this context in other country, I mean throughout the ASEAN country, imagine that in Malaysia, if you want to be a Malaysian, you have to be Muslim. What's going to happen? You see, I think there will be some really serious chaos going to happen in that country. So what's the response from the citizens about this? I mean, in Myanmar.
Yeah, so like I mentioned, even the respondent who are Rohingya Muslims said that the person who is Buddhist is a Burmese, yeah? So this reminds me actually of the Malay-Muslim Bumiputra link that we have in Malaysia. So, for example, in our federal constitution, it seems to suggest that in order to be a Malay, you have to be a Muslim in Malaysia. So, and also, of course, if you're a Malay, you are a Bumiputra. Yeah? So, again, it comes back to the question of, mixing identity with religion, like national identity. So it reminds me again of extremist group in Malaysia, even like Perkasa and whatnot. Especially of just now the monk that we mentioned. He actually leads this 969 movement in Myanmar. So what they do is really quite similar to what the Perkasa or right-wing extremist groups are doing here, nationalist right-wing extremists. So basically trying to protect even the majority ethnicity and also religion from being encroached, by other religion. So I don't personally believe that we protect a religion through protests, rah-rah on the streets, but rather I believe the beauty of your faith is reflected and channeled through your daily actions. So if you have done that, your religion don't need to, you're defending.
I think none of the religions, I'm referring to those who teaching the good things, right? Goodwill. They won't ask you to go to protest or to protect your religions. I don't think so. And asking you in terms of to protect your religion, you have to kill or maybe you have to murder someone. That's not right. You see? So I think still back to the same point. It's about human. the greedy and or desire of the human that caused that.
So on a related note about religion, we have a report from the Brunei Times talking about Sharia law actually. So Sharia officials clear air on offences. So what they practice in Brunei, this is a very interesting region like ASEAN. So in Brunei, we have Sharia law in place instead. So they are talking about kisah, which is basically literally meaning retaliation or settlement of accounts that follows the principle of an eye for an eye. So meaning that, let's say, if you kill someone, the victim's family, has a right to demand for you to be killed.
Oh.
Yeah.
Okay. I think this is also, some kind of the principle or belief by the Chinese, right?
Yeah.
Chinese, they've got some saying that, ya huan ya.
An eye for an eye.
Yes, it's exactly the same thing.
Yeah, but what I need to add on, the special thing about kisah is that you are also able to pardon completely okay, so the victim's family can pardon those who have hurt, let's say your family member,
Okay.
and if you're done that, you can. If you get pardoned, you just need to pay, the value of diyat, maybe about 4,250 gram of gold if you are pardoned by the family member.
Oh,
250 grams of gold.
4,250 gram.
of gold.
Of gold.
Yeah. So I don't know. I don't know exactly what how diyat is, but this is what
they judge a human life by using.
No.
Is
I
that
think
what you
I think you're getting the wrong concept here.
What
So
is it?
the most important concept is that in criminal offences, let's say in Brunei and country that practice Sharia law like Iran, okay, you can demand as a victim's family member for the same atrocity that has been done to your family member to be inflicted similarly to the person who harmed your family member. But you can also choose to forgive them. Yeah.
And if you
And
do,
accept instead.
But you choose to
The diyat.
forgive them
I
means
see.
that you have to accept the the complement or so-called what's the right word to use?
Diyat.
Diyat.
Yeah.
Diyat.
It's like a compensation,
Yeah.
I guess.
But how do you compensate someone's life with the gold?
No, okay, so like for example, just to give us a better picture of how this applied. For example, in 2009, this lady in Iran called Amineh Barami, so she was blinded in an acid attack. Then she demanded her attacker Majid to be blinded as well. But in 2011, she made a last-minute retraction and said she would want to forgive this man and for her attacker to be pardoned. So that's how it functions. She can demand, but she can also forgive.
Forgive, but she didn't request for anything, any compensations?
I think the compensation part is not an essential thing.
It's not essential, not mandatory.
The
right?
key emphasis here is the power of forgiveness. From what I understand from my Muslim colleague who commented on this piece yesterday. So I personally believe that, hatred does not cease by hatred, but only through love. And this is the eternal rule. It's a quote from Gautama Buddha.
I have to agree with you.
What do you guys think?
I have to agree with you because, if you just simply, if someone done something bad on you, if you want to return it with the bad things, and even worse, I think it will come back in return and making it worse. It won't go to the positive way.
Yes. I think it depends on the objects of punishment. Do you want to go the retributive way of one eye for an eye, in which if you kill someone then he has to be killed, regardless whether or not he has actually repented, regardless whether or not he says he want to turn a new leaf and become a better person. If that particular treacherous journey has somehow turned him to be a better person, why not forgive and give him a better chance? And that would be a what you call a rehabilitative way, or but definitely not a retributions. So I guess that's probably these different elements. That's probably what what these Islamic laws are looking at.
Sometimes when you are the victims, or you are the family of the victims,
yes,
you are too blinded by the hatreds.
No, it's easier to say than
and you wouldn't have taken
practice,
right decision. That is where our the counseling and bimbingan and all this religious party, they have to step in and try to mediate this part.
Just imagine the family of the victims of I use the word victims. I mean the MH370. I mean those passengers' families yet to confirm. Okay, the lost passengers' families. What do they feel about this case? You see, the world is spinning around the rumors and also the news that yet to be confirmed, especially online.
Exactly.
So they are affected by all this news, and then they will keep blaming about the Malaysia Airlines. I'm not saying Malaysia Airlines is doing the right things or the Malaysian government is doing the right thing or wrong things. Just that when this case happened, what the world look at Malaysians and look at Malaysia Airlines, and how those passengers, the lost passengers' families feel about it. Then look at this. You see, so sometimes it's always easier to say rather than to practice it, how to forgive.
But also bringing the news to a different context, I believe, with some insights of Malaysia, how it is practiced, because now we have seen in Myanmar the majority religion being Buddhist and here being Islam, and so not here, I mean Brunei being Islam, and in Malaysia rather we have a mixed system.
Yeah, we have a dual systems when it comes to a legal system. I mean, by way of background, I'm a practicing lawyer, but having said that, I don't exactly do Sharia law related cases. Most of my cases are civil, commercial, corporate related cases. But anyway, coming back to a dual system, what we have in Malaysia is where we practice civil law, but we also have Sharia law for Muslims. So that's how it is in Malaysia. And then when it comes to Islamic laws, it is within the purview of the state. Whereas when it comes to federal laws and criminal laws, it is within the purview of the federal laws. So this is to ensure that there will not be any, duplications or clashes. But I think all of us can see that when it comes to conversion and apostasis, when it comes to marriages or religion of child, there's so many problems that arises because of the dual systems. So yeah, that's how it is in Malaysia. And then, like for example, the news piece that we are discussing just now, when it comes to this concept of diyat or kisas and all, it is, you can see it in under the Islamic law, the state enactments, and of course it differs from one state to another, but it's very much limited in its implementation because of this dual system. To know more about what is it that the federal law can, that the federal government can, the federal law has jurisdiction on and the state law has jurisdiction on. All of this is under the 9th schedule of the federal constitutions. So this is one of it.
And Ms. Firdaus will be sharing a little more about our federal constitution after the break.
Yes.
But for now, if I could just extend the discussion a little on this, because I want to seek Ms. Firdaus' opinion on how the current state of, let's say, of development for hudud in Malaysia. So do you think that it should be implemented? I mean, constitutionally, we're supposed to be, let's say, a secular state with the official religion being Islam, but not an Islamic state. So, and I heard from Ms. Firdaus that she might be supportive of hudud being implemented, but I know that this is a controversial topic in Malaysia.
Yeah, okay, it's the idea of hudud in itself. I don't, I don't condemn that idea, and I can see the significance, and I can understand why some people would want hudud.
Can you maybe explain what is hudud for our listeners?
Okay, hudud is basically, from what I understand, is Islamic criminal law. Yeah. Okay, but bringing it back to Malaysia, the way I see it, it is the current situation or the current environment in Malaysia, be it looking at the political scenarios or be it looking at the multicultural fabric of the society, the environment is such that it is not yet suitable for the implementation of hudud. You have so many misunderstandings and miscomprehension about what this whole idea of hudud is about, that and you've got people fearing that it would be implicated on them, Muslims or non-Muslims alike. So because of this, how can you say that we have to implement hudud when everyone is still okay? What's that? So that's one of the reasons why I don't think hudud at the moment can and should be implemented in Malaysia. And even following up from my earlier comments on Islamic law and such, even if you look under the federal constitution, it doesn't allow you to implement hudud law simply because criminal law is under the jurisdiction of the federal state. Is under the jurisdiction of the federal government, not under the state law. But Islam is under the jurisdiction of the state. So for the state government to implement hudud, which is essentially Islamic criminal law, it would trespass the jurisdiction of the federal law. Okay.
So with hudud means that this concept of kisah that we were talking about earlier, all of this will be implemented. Is that right? Okay, I'm not too sure of that simply because like I say, I didn't exactly do Sharia law related cases, so I can't exactly give comment on that. But at the current situations, there are a certain level of kisahs and kisahs and hudud implemented under the state law. But I mean, it's only within that limited purview of the state enactments. So I personally think that currently it seems like Islamophobia, rather, it's a very pertinent threat in a lot of states around the world.
I think it's not just in Malaysia. Even in Malaysia, I don't think it's just the non-Muslims who are not familiar with the idea. Even the Muslims. I mean, I would admit that I don't exactly know much about this to actually be able to convince you it's a good idea, for example. You know what I mean? So unless and until we actually reach that stage, we shouldn't be talking about implementing hudud.
But from what I can understand here, the hudud is only limited
Muslim?
No, it is to theft, fornications, adultery, consumptions of alcohol, and apostasy. So it's not, and if you're talking about kisah, it will be another sets of
different
theory. Yes, there's different area.
Right, but I think people are mostly wary and afraid because of the feeling of Islamism growing. I think that is the.
Well, I think this is a let's just say consequences of religion being politicized.
Yeah, that is true.
So maybe I'll just mention something that I believe the Dalai Lama have mentioned. Whatever religion you practice, if you are a Muslim, be a good Muslim. If you are a Buddhist, be a good Buddhist. You're a good Christian, be a good Christian. And the religion that he says he practices is compassion.
I will put it in a simple way. If you are a human, be a good human.
Okay. Whatever humanity
that's one
means.
Common ground all religions have, isn't it?
Yes. It's nothing to do with the religion.
Okay, thank you so much for being with us for ASEAN Breakfast Talk call today. So we'll see you after the break. Hello, welcome back. And now we have a session with Ms. Firdaus, who will be sharing with us what MyConstitution is about. So MyConstitution is a campaign by the Malaysian Bar who's trying to promote what our constitution is about and bringing it to the hearts and minds of the people. It's Firdaus. So tell us a little story about how MyConstitution started.
All right.
Why? Yeah.
Okay, MyConstitution, as you have nicely summarized, is a campaign which was run by the Bar Council Constitutional Law Committee. And the committee was formed in March 2009. So when I was first formed, we were thinking, okay, what exactly should we do? And well, the way I see it on a personal level, the way I see it, lawyers shouldn't just see themselves as money-making professions, but because you're a lawyer, there's a certain level of responsibility you have towards the society. So it's on this basis that we think that running a MyConstitution campaign is a good idea. And then why do we do this campaign? Usually when we say you just go to or just approach anyone on the ground and say that, what do you know about the Federal Constitution? And they will say, no, I don't know. Whatever I read on the newspaper, or I don't know. It's something that the lawyers work on. Whereas actually the Federal Constitution shouldn't be looked at in that manner or in that light, simply because the Federal Constitution is actually a book that talks about fundamental liberties, that talks about citizenships. And then, politics being what it is, you hear so many interpretations of Federal Constitution that you're not even sure which one is right, which one is wrong, for example. So for you to be able to know what your right is, for you to be able to know what are the limits of government under the Federal Constitutions, you of course, first and foremost, you have to know what is in the Federal Constitution. The way we see it, when the citizens are empowered with the knowledge of the Federal Constitution, that's when they are more aware, and that's when they are not easily manipulated by all this propaganda we were discussing just now. That is when they see that something is not right, and it's not just affecting them, but affecting others also, they will stand up and speak out. And it's in this manner the citizens is some sort of a watchdog for the government, and they keep the government on toes and make sure that it's the government of the day is carrying out good governance. So that's why we are doing the campaign.
So why do you personally get involved in this campaign?
Well, okay, I have been with the campaign since it was first launched in 2009. So how long was that? 2009, 10. 4 years, 4 or 5 years, 4 or 5 years, and I'm currently chairing the committee. Well, let's just say, to put it easily, if I don't believe in the campaign, then I wouldn't have stayed this long. And the way I see it, more and more people needs to know about the Federal Constitutions. And at this stage, even though after 3, 4, 5 years, there are still a lot more people who don't know about the Federal Constitution. There are still a lot more people whose rights get trampled on every day, and they don't know. They thought that is the way it should be. So it's these people, whom we all should be reaching out to. On a personal basis, that is why I think we all should be aware of what the Federal Constitution is. I mean, you mentioned just now, at the end of the day, all of us should be good human. Yeah. So basically, let's just say that on the very basic level, that is essentially what this campaign is about, so that everyone's right is protected.
So since it was established until now,
yes,
throughout the 4 to 5 years, right?
Yes.
What kind of the activities and effort that you guys have put in, and what is the response and the feedback from the society? Okay,
the first phase of the campaign, which is the first 2 years, and this was when Edmund Bond was chairing the committee. We actually produced 9 series of Rakyat Guides booklet. What we do is that, well, I can tell you this Federal Constitution actually has 183 articles with a total amendments of over 500 amendments, okay? So
600 plus, I last heard.
So I am telling you, even lawyers have difficulties trying to understand each of these words. So what we do is we simplify all of this, find the important aspects, and put it in a simple form, which we can then bring up to the rakyat so that they can read that instead of the Federal Constitution. So that's one. So that's one activities. And then we were talking about movies just now, right? So what realizing that videos are actually very effective tool, we also have 9 series of short videos. It's mostly lasted 1 minute or 1.5 minutes, because if you notice, if you look in commercials, commercial breaks and all, they are all either 1 minute or maybe 2 minutes at most, because in order to grab attention, it has to be within that span. So we came up with 9 series of videos, short videos. And also, of course, besides that, we have forums and we have workshops. Forums and workshops. And forums, what are the topic we talk on? It usually depends on what the audience wants. And then talking about outreach, we have a dedicated team doing activities for the Mandarin speaking community, because you want to reach to a wider audience, and then of course in English or in bahasa. So I think we had a request for talk to be done in Tamil, maybe 1 or 2, but not so much lah. So that is what we have been doing so far. Yes.
But why this campaign? What are some examples of some of things that public, should know? And also, we are definitely going to share more about this, hopefully with a weekly series with MyConsti.
Yes,
whatever it is, let's provide them with a teaser of what are things that, maybe they should know.
Okay.
Why this campaign is important.
I'll give a simple examples, and of course the ones that we all can relate to would be the fundamental liberties. Yeah? And then just now we also talked about visas, for example. Now the application of visas in itself is a restriction of one's freedom of movement, isn't it? So now, right, I don't think we actually see it simply because we take advantage of it every day. For example, me traveling from Sentul, my house is in Sentul, from Sentul to here without so much as a restriction. Imagine if you want to go from one district to another, you actually have to be stopped and you have to show your IC or whatever, and then they can decide whether or not they want to buy your entry.
Have to pay toll.
Yeah. So that is in itself is a restriction of our freedom of movement. And if people actually does that to you, you can say, look, that violates my rights under the federal constitutions, and you also have the right for freedom of expression, freedom of assembly. The very fact that all 4 of us here is able to be here in this room is because we're exercising our freedom of assembly. And the very fact that we can all discuss why we all think about all these other news pieces because we're exercising our freedom of speech and expression. So that's a very simple example. Basically what I'm trying to say is that we don't see it because we are exercising every day, but imagine if one day it is taken away from us. Then only we see how significant and important it is. Yes, correct.
In terms of the educations,
Yes.
You have those in English, in Malay. How about in the Chinese? I know you're having the seminar in the forum in Chinese, in Mandarin, right? But how about the printed copy of those explanation booklet?
Okay. The booklet, I don't know whether you guys seen it. We have the Mandarin version of the first series, which is on introduction to the federal constitutions. This has been progress, work in progress. We have at the moment a draft translation of all of the booklets in Mandarins. Yeah, but at the moment it's still, of course, undergoing final works. And we hope that it can be published as soon as possible, because I can tell you, when the first one was up, right, and then we distributed it to the Chinese community, they actually demanded and say that what about the rest of the other 8 series? We want to see those. So you see here, right, from what I see from my observation, is that we see here that the people on the ground, the rakyat, the citizens, are very much aware and want to know about the contents of the federal constitution affecting them. Is that there's probably not so much of the proper materials for them to read and refer. Yes.
Then is incorporating the fundamental liberties and the idea of the constitutions in our primary and secondary schools. Is your long-term or short-term?
Okay, yes. Well, good that you bring that up.
I'm just
Okay.
curious.
No, it's good because I do want to mention that actually we had actually written to the government,
MOE.
to the ministry, to the Ministry of Education, actually to actually bring this as a subject in schools. And so far,
unfortunately,
there haven't been any response. Although we did get a mention in Parliament, I think once.
And the response was?
And they had been a follow-up meeting, if I remember correctly. But nothing actually moved from there. But all of these are a work in progress. And the way I see it, not just through the ministry, we can also, we had actually been doing workshops in schools, but those are on, it's on individual basis. Yeah, and it's through other organizations that we got into schools. So if you ask me, it is my dream one day that it is actually implemented. If not as a subject, right, maybe as a, as a syllabus incorporated into any of the, I don't know, you guys, there's a moral studies or something?
Yeah, civic education.
No, civil studies.
Especially in the Form 6, they have it like pendidikan am.
Yes, correct.
Well, because in my times there isn't such things, but even then, I doubt.
How old are you?
No pengajian amin.
No, I have moral education, but not civic education.
In Form 6?
I didn't go to Form 6.
Okay. I didn't know, so I didn't know.
It was. I mean, it's still teaching in Form 6 now. I mean, the
but okay, what is it about?
I'm sorry about that because I'm really not good in that. It's quite boring sometimes to me. Rather to learn, it's more to those who really want to learn about the law kind of things. Yeah. They learn the Malaysian Constitution.
So do you remember any of this inside?
Only after I left the school. And
be part of the movement.
Yes. Then I know about it.
I see. Oh, if I can share one interesting story is actually we actually have our own team dedicated. A dedicated team in Sabah and Sarawak, also doing the campaigns over there, and I'm very glad that they've been doing very well. So this team in Sarawak has been doing workshops with schools. So what happened was that he was telling me after, all of us afterwards, after the campaign, what happened is that he went to school and he says, look, you have these rights under the Federal Constitution, you have this freedom to express yourselves, right? So what happened is that, I think a day after that workshop, right, they've got students coming to the schools, not in uniforms and...
That's a problem.
Well, they are abusing their rights. Yes.
So when the teachers ask, they say, we've got our freedoms. So this team of ours actually was requested to come back and explain, look, with rights and all this comes responsibility.
You also have to emphasize on the context that other than the freedom, we also have limited by the privileges and the immunity under the Federal Constitution.
So it shows that your campaign is really effective.
That was funny.
We have to express or deliver to someone that matured enough to differentiate how they use the freedom. It's not abuse it like what Wei Jing said.
Well, I guess when it comes to education on freedom, we have to incorporate also that way. With freedoms comes a certain responsibility, and your exercise of freedom shouldn't be at the expense of somebody else's freedom.
What is the biggest challenge that your association facing now, or maybe the biggest obstacle that you're facing?
Besides trying to, like you said, besides trying to make it a national agenda and put it in education, that's one. The biggest challenge, and I think it would be the same as any other organizations, is to reach to a wider audience and to actually go outside Klang Valley, because we are constrained by our resources and our capacity, simply because, like, if I tell you guys about what the Federal Constitution is, you guys most probably would already know or be familiar with the contents already, even though you don't exactly know what the wordings are. But the thing is, the way I see it, the one who should know most about the Federal Constitution is the one who is outside Klang Valley, who may not have access to this, who doesn't know at all that these are even their rights that they can actually exercise. So this is actually the group that we should be trying to reach, or that we should be reaching. So that's our biggest challenge.
Have you guys worked with any political parties or?
We do. We did work with political parties. In fact, we work with. We don't exactly discriminate who we want to work with. In fact, for example, the third series, which is on federal-state relations, it was in collaboration with the Selangor state government. Yeah, and then one of the series was, I think it's the executive, if I'm not mistaken, it was a collaboration with the MCA. Yes, and also on the 8th series, which is on the fundamental liberties and citizenship, it was a collaboration with SUHAKAM, the Human Rights Commission. Yeah, so
are they supportive?
Yes, they are. They're all supportive. Yeah, they're all supportive, but definitely we need more. So if there are organizations, for example, who move outside the Klang Valley area and would want us to work with them, of course we'd be more than happy to do that. Yeah.
I just want to provide a little perspective from beyond Malaysia, because what I realized from my dialogue with my friends in the US back then when I was studying is that they are able to name out even like, okay, in Article 1 I have this right, in Article amendments or whatever.
Exactly.
So I of course I don't have a big sample size or empirical research on this, but it seems like even in Malaysia, even just asking people the federal constitution, what is that? You know, you could definitely check out what their responses are in my Consti video. I can only say that a lot of them don't seem to have a clue. But so this probably makes me question why we don't really have such awareness. I believe that should be instilled in the education system.
Yeah. Okay. The way I see it, well, I choose to look at it from a positive point of view, in the sense that I think now, as compared to before, more and more people are actually aware of their rights under the constitutions. They are probably not sure, maybe, or they are probably not sure where to look, you know. And I wouldn't say that, oh, credit must be given to the MyConstitution campaign. No, I think we are here to accommodate that increasing awareness on the constitution. Yes, like you say, it may be low, you know, it may be low. And also this idea of, you know, under this whole concept of democracy, there are several models of democracy actually. You have representative democracy, you have participative democracy. So to answer your questions, maybe back then, the way people look at democracy is as a representative democracy, where when it comes to decision making of the country, you just leave it to your representative in the parliament, because they know best. Whereas what we are trying to move away from that is a participative democracy, where participation of the citizens goes beyond the ballot box. You don't just vote and leave it to your wakil rakyat to do everything. You are also involved in the decision making process of the country, affecting you and your neighbours, whether indirectly or directly. Okay, so I think because of that, right, we've been getting a lot of requests, right? Like, believe it or not, the workshops, right, the many workshops that we have done, it's not us coming to them, it's them coming to us and say that we want you guys to do workshops. And it's not just students, it's not just college students. You've got senior citizens in churches who wanted us to do workshops, and I thought that in itself was very inspiring to hear and to know. And of course, you know, I learn more from them as much as they learn from us. Yeah, and we've got disabled community. We actually did workshop with them also. So and I think that we should just mention how can we join one of your workshops if we are interested to. Okay. Now following up from what I said earlier, I think it's it's a bit unfortunate that the workshops, we only operate on demands. Meaning to say, right, if you're not affiliated to any organization and that organization doesn't organize a workshop, then you can't exactly join a workshop. So because of that, what we are organizing now is actually a public workshop. This will be held on the 30th. I think this is the first time you are actually opening up to members of the public, which means, you know, you on your own can join. So, you know, Vienna, if you want to come, so you just signed up. It will be on the 30th March 2014 at the KL Bar Auditorium. It's right next to Masjid Jami'. It's free. And then it's from 10 o'clock until 3:30. But workshop being what it is, it will be on a first come first serve basis, simply because you can't exactly have proper focus on everyone when it's like 100 people in a workshop. So we are limiting the number to maybe 50 maximum.
50.
Yes. So which is why, you know, if you want to join, then come quick before, you know, we run out of places. So that's on the 30th. In the meantime, just now, Will, you've asked me what are the activities that we've been doing. In the meantime, we have also been collaborating with Bersih and Tindak Malaysia on the delineation issue.
I'm just about to say that you should just go for Tindak Malaysia.
So, the way I see it, all this, I don't see any clashes with all this organization. And the way I see it, one organization complements another. And of course, they have different networks, we have different networks. And anyway, talking about the collaboration, Tindak Malaysia Bar Council and also Bersih, we are organizing a forum, but this one focusing on Parliament, which would also be be relevant to the delineation exercise, which I think will be taking place sometime soon by the Election Commission. But this forum on Parliament will be organised sometime in April. We don't exactly have the confirmed details yet, but if you want to keep track on that, you can follow our Facebook, www.facebook.com/MyConstitution, and we'll be posting up our updates or any confirmed events on that. And, if you want to sign up for that public workshop I talked about earlier on 30th March, also go to our Facebook. I mean, of course, we have our channels as well. We have our dedicated website, but, I'm guessing since Facebook is the most effective channel, so check that out.
Right. Thank you so much, Ms. Firdaus, for sharing with us today.
Welcome.
We hope to see you again.
Thanks for having me.
Thank you so much. And we'll now move on to the next session on economics.